On the Jacob Buer Show, I am so happy to have on Michael Marcagi today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, first off, I just want to start out by saying I'm so happy to have you on. Went through a little bit of a heartbreak myself a couple weeks ago, and your songs have helped me. So it's kind of perfect timing, and reached out to your manager, and you have a show in Indianapolis on June 7th at Hi-Fi, and this interview worked out today. So I appreciate you being able to join me today.
Heck yeah.
Through in November, you started blowing up on TikTok. You had a band before. You're from
hmm
Cincinnati. Um, you're a big Midwest guy like me as well. What's it
hmm
been like the last couple of weeks and to now where you're at? You've been on the Billboard charts. I should probably mention you were 98 last week or the week before. You've been on the charts for the last 3 weeks. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, it's been just overwhelming. It's been crazy. It's been nothing's really felt real. Everything's just kind of happened so fast. I was in a band for a while. Kind of like slugged through 4 years of playing shows and not really getting anywhere, and then decided to try the solo route thing and was just kind of messing around and making TikToks and stuff like that. And one of them blew up, and that was only a few months ago. And so yeah, ever since then it's just been this wild run that we've been on. Everything's moved fast paced. That I never in a million years would have dreamed that any of my songs would have gotten a million plays, let alone what they're up to now on TikTok and Spotify and everything. But yeah, just been super grateful that people are catching on to the music. And it's just been yeah, it really has felt like a dream. Like, it just nothing's felt real for sure.
And um, did you kind of grow up? When did you first start playing music?
Yeah, so I've always been into music, but I was never like the musician type or whatever. um I got a guitar for Christmas when I was like in 7th or 8th grade or something like that. And I'm the youngest of I got an older brother and older sister, and they were decently older than me. So like by the time I got to middle school, high school, they were both like, going off to college and stuff like that. So I kind of felt like an only child. So when I got that guitar, I remember like really liking like writing songs and connecting with music then. But yeah, didn't really like ever play out. I never was like the guy to like want to play live or anything. I was always pretty shy. So never really like branched out to try any live shows or anything until about after around college. I lived in a house with some guys that were all like musicians, and we just started like playing and writing songs. And that's when I like really got the itch and the bug to like want to be in a band or play live shows and just kind of like write with different people.
Wow. And what would you say, growing up in Cincinnati, of course, it's a great area, big city, but so
hmm
often you hear you have to right be in Nashville, or you have to right be in LA, or you have to be in New York City. Of course, you signed with Warner
hmm
recently, but before that, you're still a Cincinnati guy. At least
Yeah.
you still are. Um, Kind of what's your advice on that for any artist, you know?
Yeah, I definitely went through a long stretch where, I felt like I was gonna get looked over, or like I wasn't gonna be able to get anyone's attention being in a state or a city like, being in Ohio. It's just like, people call them like a flyover state. People never come here for anything. But I kind of like, was recently in the past like couple years have been inspired by people that just like write really authentic music about where they're from, and just not being afraid to like really open up and get specific about how they're feeling about where they're from, because I think it's a lot more relatable of a subject than being from New York or being from LA or whatever. Like, the funny example I give is like Noah Khan now has stadiums singing like "I love Vermont." I mean, like they're like screaming about a state that 99% of the country's never been to. So it's just I think there's something in there about being vulnerable and being open about where you're from and the struggles that you have in your kind of hometown.
For sure, absolutely. And where do you kind of see yourself going? You're going on tour, you're selling out some of the other places you're having to um get bigger venues. I'm noticing on
Mhm.
Instagram as I see things coming in. I hope
Yeah.
you have to move to even a bigger venue in Indianapolis. But what's it kind of like just like getting ready? You're going on tour next week, which I've interviewed a lot of artists, and sometimes they're like, we can't do an interview now because we're about to go on tour next week. You and your manager were very kind to come on the show today.
Yeah.
You're going on tour next week though. So are you kind of nervous a little bit? Because this is kind of your first big solo tour. You've done some events in the past month or two, but this is the first like tour where it's like boom, 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 boom. Are you nervous
Yeah.
at all?
Yeah, to be honest, I am a little bit, like again, I'm one of those guys where like I get nervous for shows. Like playing live is like a vulnerable thing, and like I'm definitely not one of those people that's like I feel most comfortable on stage. Like that's just not me. And it's definitely a different position. Like being in the band, I became really comfortable at opening up for other bands. Like I became comfortable playing 30 minutes while people are still funneling in and trying to win people's attention. But this is definitely a different spotlight for me, and a different position to be in, where people are coming out to see me for once, or like being the headliner, and then like playing longer, and interacting with the crowd and stuff like that. So it's definitely a new position I'm in, but I'm really really looking forward to it too. Like just the fact that there are people that want to come out and support the music and sing along with the songs is something that like I will never get used to. I will never take for granted. It's a pretty cool place to be in.
For sure. And I see behind you the Moon River Music Festival, the
Oh yeah.
off, I believe. But do you have an artist that you were inspired by growing up? You're
Yeah. So
me.
my what'd you say?
I said you're just a couple years older than me, so we kind of have probably a little. We kind of grew up with some of the same musicians. So do you have an artist that you're inspired by?
Yeah, if I go like way, way back, like I remember like my mom had really, really cool music taste. So I remember like driving around in her car when I was really little and listening to like John Prine and Jim Croce and like cool singer songwriters that like played like storytelling folk music and stuff like that. She also loved like Heartland rock. She loved like Bruce and John Mellencamp and stuff like that. Um, but like when I started like figure out my own music tastes, I remember being like really inspired by like the the folk movement when I was like in high school, where like Mumford and Lumineers kind of like had their big moment where they like I remember seeing them on like TV and like their music videos and being like, this music's amazing. Like they're just playing like acoustic guitars and mandolins and banjos, and like they're like selling out stadiums and people are like just screaming along. Like I just thought that was really really cool.
For sure. And some of their songs, they've charted a lot, and you've charted now too. So it's got to feel crazy to you. Um, what would you say is something that, if you don't mind me asking, that you kind of enjoy doing before you go out there on stage? Is it like, do you just enjoy putting earbuds in? Do you enjoy socializing to kind of calm your nerves before that moment? Or how do you like to associate that before?
Yeah. I think just like being with the band backstage, like just hanging out. I try not to like go out and talk or anything, because talking is really actually really bad for your voice, like talking in loud environments. But uh yeah, just kind of like hanging out and being with the band and just kind of like relaxing backstage is what I like to do. They're really awesome people, and they seem to calm me down back there. So, just getting in the right mindset back there. But I don't have any, at least not yet. I don't have any like rituals or good luck things that I have yet.
For sure. And a couple other questions I have. Um, what kind of motivated you to kind of like step away from a band and just go solo? You kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but like for you, was it like a personal decision? Did anyone in your family say maybe you should do this, or what was the decision like kind of for you? Were you like, I know you've been mentioned you really wanted to kind of try it on your own, but like
Yeah.
band you opened up for other bands. So what kind of made you finally decide like, okay, I'm gonna go out on my own? Because
Yeah. It
band,
was kind of like, a lot of things that all just kind of happened naturally. I had always, deep down somewhere in me, I had always like been, felt like the music I kind of wanted to make was more of like storytelling and folk music and just like a little simpler. Like with a band, you have, you know, four other people that you're trying to all get there. You know, you want to get everyone's opinions and everyone to like do equal things. So it just like was a lot of cooks in the kitchen, it seemed like. But it also just got to a point where, you know, there was a couple guys in the band, you know, like getting married, having kids or whatever. So it just kind of like naturally went its own way. And when that started to happen, that's when I started to be like, oh, maybe I will try to like, you know, record these folk songs that I've been kind of saving in my head and on like these demos that I've made and just see what happens, you know.
For sure. And what kind of was behind Scared to Start before I ask for your advice, of course, for that you'd have for aspiring musicians? What was it kind of behind Scared to Start on the other side? Where was your motivation to kind of come up with that name for the song?
Yeah, like so Scared to Start was a really an old like song that I had kind of saved for a long time. I'd always really liked it, and you know I even showed it around to like a couple of my managers and like that, and they all like loved it. But it was really funny. I just like never really I had like all these demos of it, but it just like never really sounded that good. Like I just feel like I like over produced it and it was like really big and everything. And then it wasn't until I got with my producer in upstate New York, and he's an amazing guy. His name's David Barron, and he like really. I had a conversation with him, and he was just like, "Let's just like strip everything back. Like, you want these songs to be like folky storytelling songs? It's just like take everything out of them. Just like have a a couple of tracks, have a guitar and a piano, and make everything just kind of open up and let like the words kind of like tell the story." And ever since that conversation, that's when like we really started to get on a on the right track of like of and we end up recording all five of these songs that are on the EP relatively quick because we just were like inspired by, you know, keeping it simple, not overthinking it, and just trying to like let the, you know, the feeling and the emotion and the words just kind of like take precedent.
For sure. And next week you start going on tour. You have a busy week, four
Mm-hmm.
back to back. Um, what would your advice be taking it back a step now? You're going on tour, which so few artists get to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
What would your advice be to the person who's just starting out music? It's incredible that you get to go on tour next week and that you're on Billboard and everything, but taking it back a step, what advice would you have maybe had for yourself 2 years ago compared to today that then you would encourage musicians today, looking back for maybe a hardship in your life, advice that you'd give to somebody today?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Sorry if I didn't word it as good, but I
No, no, no. That's a really good question. Like advice I would give to my younger self would just be to like, you know, just try to like enjoy it. It's like tour can be really stressful, you know, like you're driving around to a different city every day, and it's like really easy to get caught up in the small things of it. Like, you know, it's really easy to nitpick every show and be like, oh man, I didn't sing this song as good as I should have, or I like kind of flubbed this guitar part or whatever. But I think, you know, just trying to look like big picture and being like there's people out here coming to see me, I'm meeting new people, getting to see new places, and just like enjoying it for what it is that like you said, not many people get the opportunity to go around the country and play music, you know, for people. So just like trying to create an a positive atmosphere, because like when you're having fun up there on stage, I think the audience is smart enough to intuitive enough to see that and kind of latch onto that, and so just try to have fun and enjoy the moment a little bit.
for sure. And one last question. You're a big Bengals fan.
Oh yeah.
Trying to kind of leave just for amended music. But um, I gotta ask, do you think the Bengals are gonna make a big comeback this year and make it to the Super Bowl and beat Kansas City or Buffalo?
I I mean, my heart says yes. I think they will be good this year. I mean, they're not like really losing anybody, and Joe Burrow was hurt a lot last year, and so and we still won 9 games. And before that, you know, Burrow made it to back-to-back AFC Championship games. I would expect them to be right back in the hunt again for another AFC Championship, but you know, the NFL is weird, you know, injuries and anything can happen. The Bengals are in a tough division too. You know, they got Steelers and Browns and Ravens. So if they can make it out of that gauntlet of the AFC North, I think they have a good chance of taking down Kansas City because they're like Burrow is like 3-1 against Mahomes or something crazy. So we'll see.
For sure. One last question.
Yeah.
Do you have a goal where you want to be at a year from now?
Ooh, man, everything like I've had to like reset my goals so much because like
So fast.
yeah, because like when I first started like releasing these songs, I my goal was just like if I got to like 100,000 monthly listeners or like a million plays on one of these songs, like I would have been happy, and like everything has just been exceeding my goals very fast. So um, I don't exactly have any goals like exactly planned out yet. I'm getting to do a lot of things I never thought I would be able to do, like getting to go play shows in Europe and getting to do a full US tour. But I just say continue to play, more headline shows in the US would be really really cool, and maybe get on some like neat festivals. I think that'd be cool to play some like summer festivals or fall festivals. I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, just being able to keep doing the music thing. I'm never gonna take that for granted.
For sure. Well, Michael, I appreciate you joining the Jacob Beer Show. I'm excited to see you in Indianapolis. Venue permitting, of course. I hope you sell out. I can't wait to keep listening to your song on my runs, and it's definitely helped me out as I kind of went through rejection a couple weeks ago. So thank you so much. And my listeners are going to appreciate this. And is there anything else you'd like to say?
I don't know, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to see you in Indy. It's gonna be a good time.
Well, I guess you'll get me to say this. Who day? Titans or Texans or Jaguars, I can say that as a Colts fan. So who day?
Who day?
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much.